So we work in Burma. It's our main effort still. We have over 100 relief teams. These are 4 to 5 person, men or women, teams that work in the conflict areas. Burma's 70 years of civil war. So our 5 people teams are there to give help. That's mostly medical and food and shelter and hope. You're not forgotten, and love. God loves you. And if we got no medicine, no money, we're going to stand with you. Or we're going to run away with you, but we're not going to leave you. And after almost 20 years of working in Burma, when ISIS came up in the Middle East, we were asked by friends, hey, you guys don't have any safety rules. Why don't you come over here? Bring your medics and your videographers and others from Burma. These are Asians, some who've never got on an airplane, and we got to find passports, and that's the whole thing. They're illegal in their own country. They don't even have IDs. So get them and bring them to the Middle East and help. And that's what we've been doing. So now we have work in Syria. We have a team there right now. In Syria, we're rebuilding churches and working with the emergent church, which is tiny, and feeding anybody, which is mostly Muslims. We also work in Iraq, in northern Iraq, which is called Kurdistan, in Sudan sometimes, and still main effort's Burma. And our home's in Thailand, and we kind of go here and there. And before we came here to put our girls to see y'all, and I love all of y'all. Some of you I know, some of you I don't, but I love you, and that's God's gift. And I'm just amazed. You know, to me, the greatest thing of America is the church, for sure. The second greatest thing, this is just my opinion, in this order, is the beauty and diversity of the country. The third thing is our form of government, which is, is a toss-up. But on the 4th of July, I was home for the first time in 10 years, because I'm usually in some jungle somewhere. And the girls painted their horses red, white, and blue. They rode out with American, they look like Indians. They rode out with American flags. We sang the Star Spangled Banner. We did this, that. My mom and dad, my dad are still there. He's 91. Mom is 88. And they've been there 60 years. They're missionaries. They've been here many times. They said a prayer. We're going to play American football afterwards. It's a full-on American deal in Thailand. But about 40 of the people in that group were not from America. So I wanted to describe the national anthem before. And I said, you know who wrote this song? Francis Scott Key. Who's he? He's a prisoner on a ship. Whose ship? The British Navy, the most powerful force in the world. He's their prisoner. He's done. And they are bombarding this tiny little colony, and he wonders if in the morning that flag will still be there. And it reminds me, we're in the same situation, and every generation is, whether it looks like that or not. America is just people. It's what we make it. It's not a god or an idol that just sat up there, or you did the work, okay, it's good, leave it. We're always on the deck of this ship wondering, is it going to be a flag tomorrow? But we do not need to be afraid. God is with us. He's going to show us how to do it. And we're a family. We're all a family, whether you like it or not. And I was thinking, did I choose my sisters? Nope. Did I choose my mom and dad? Nope. We chose to have kids. We had no idea what they're going to be like. And so in our own families, you don't get to choose. But you have a choice to love them or not, respect them or not. And in America, we are a family. We have no choice. Black, white, brown, Republican, Democrat, in the middle, whatever. We may go, my God, why am I in this family? Well, you're in it. Mental health is reality at all costs. We are in it. And so what do? I think the first thing, Jesus, help me follow you. Please take the log out of my own eye so that I can help take the speck. It doesn't say take the log out of your own eye and do nothing and meditate. It's so that you can help your brother, your sister take that speck out of their eye. They got to want it too. But there's no way I can see how to fix anyone's sin or lead them in any help if I'm cluttered myself. And I found when I'm in an argument, if I just stop and say, Jesus, show me my sin, it's like, oh my gosh, there's like 10 things that are happening that is wrong with me that have nothing to do with the argument. When I'm done confessing, I'm like, I've shrunk about a foot, and I'm back to my real size, not my imaginary size. And now from that position, which is humility, because you've been humbled, you can actually do something. God can heal through you. He can work. If they say no, okay, you don't have to do anything. So take the log out of your own eye before you try to take the speck out of someone else's. And then I was asking God, what do I do when I come to America? What am I going to say? And God gave me these things. One, God is bigger than every problem and always is. Jesus is the answer to every problem. Keep praising him. Through praise, you're going to find a way. The second one was what I just said. Take the log out of your own eye before you take the speck out of someone else's. The third one was stay in your lane. Only do and say what Jesus has you do and say. I have a friend who's an ER doc in New York. In the height of COVID, her response in her life was very different than mine in the jungles of Burma. They don't have to be the same. Very different. We had different jobs. Jesus, what do you want me to say and do? So as I come to America, for me, it's anything I'm faced, whether I think I'm right or wrong or this or that, it's what do you want me to do? And if he doesn't tell you to say it or do it, don't do it. Because you can. Like an Australian friend of mine, he's a missionary. I was praying about a course of action. He said, Dave, it's a good idea or it's a God idea. If it's a good idea, you get to pay for it. I was like, oh, I can't afford that. And I know my good ideas, which God lets us do, sometimes work out. And if they do, you get like one thing and you pay a lot. But when it's God's idea, you get the thing you wanted times 10, times 1,000, times 1,000,000 for eternity, and he pays for it. And so only do what he tells you to do. But then remember, when he tells you to say something that you might lose all your friends or your job or whatever you think you're going to lose or your life, remember he's with you. He never says, go do that. Good luck. No, go do that. I'm with you. Have I not told you? Do not be afraid. I'm with you. And so, and as I came back to the States, we were climbing up in the Pacific Northwest, and our webmaster for our website says, Dave, as we came down the mountain, God gave me this word. I don't know where it is in the Bible. It's a strange construct of sentences. And then he looked it up. It was Isaiah 8:12. And he said, Dave, this is for you. So he gave it to me, and I just share it to you as he gave it to me. I don't know if it's for you or not, or how you're going to interpret it is between you and God. And these are the words of Isaiah 8:12. Do not fear what this people fears. Do not call it a conspiracy. Do not dread what they dread. Maybe that's not for you. Maybe you'll interpret it differently than me. That's between you and God. The way I interpreted it was, don't get in the swirl, man. Don't be afraid. Do not be afraid. Second, don't call it a conspiracy. Meaning, don't imagine why this is happening because this group doesn't like this group. That's obvious. People don't like people. But it may be a lot bigger than a conspiracy. It may be something more powerful. You don't know. But what you do know is God is bigger. And Satan would like nothing better than we would all kill each other. And if he can't have that, let's let them hate each other. When we were praying once for Burma, this woman said, I have a vision of Burma. And she said, over Burma is this black evil thing that's scary to look at, like a big demonic spirit. And she said, oh, wow, that's scary. And it looked down to the people of Burma, and it didn't care who won. Karen, that's a tribe. Shan, Wa, Burman, let them kill each other. All I want is blood. Let them kill each other. And as the people looked up, they were not afraid. And this lady said, how can they not be afraid? Because they don't see what it really is. They don't see what it really is. And it wants their destruction. So to me, that interpretation for me meant, do not get in that swirl. Pray for everyone on every side. Work for love. And tell the truth. If you don't respect someone's decision, you don't have to say anything, but don't tell a lie. Say, well, I respect that. No, you don't. You're going to turn around and tell your wife, that guy's an idiot. So you don't have to say you don't respect it. You don't have to say nothing. But you don't tell a lie. So if you find someone saying or doing something that you really don't respect, we don't really know who's right or wrong, then you don't have to say anything. But you have to respect them. And there's a big difference between respecting a person and what they do. You know, we're told not to sin, and we sin. Does that mean God doesn't respect us? No, he respects us. He loves us enough to die for us. There's no greater respect than to die for somebody. And we have to be willing to die for each other. In John 15:13, greater love hath no man than this, he laid down his life for his friends. You die for someone because you respect them. But let's not pretend to respect ideas we don't respect. And sometimes you may not even have an argument because you'll say nothing. But at least you're speaking the truth to each other with respect. Everyone is made in the image of God. And when we disrespect them, like I disrespected the Arabs by having Pete sing this song, God doesn't like that. And it doesn't make me any stronger. I'm wrong. I thank God he's patient. You know, we just had a board meeting And everybody had a devotion every day. And the theme was patient endurance, patience, endurance. So when we're here, I just thank God. I'm pretty much a weenie. He hasn't got me any big problems. I'm just kind of go around from rodeo to rodeo, climbers to climbers. Now I'm at A&M, which is like the biggest Christian, non-Christian school in the world. And as outsiders called it a cult. And you know what's funny? When you call it a cult to the Aggies, they don't even argue. So you know, like, whoa, man. I went there, though. My dad went there. My granddad went there. My kids. I said, man, there's mountains in Colorado. There's oceans in Washington State. They're like, nope, come in here. But it's been wonderful. So right before we came here, we were in Syria and responding to a disaster. And the disaster was one I had not faced before because the U.S. government was working with the Kurds in northeast Syria to fight ISIS for all these years, like 7 years now. And the Kurds were the only effective force fighting ISIS. And we said, okay, we'll work together. The Kurds lost 14,000 men and some women fighting ISIS. We've lost a few. I mean, I think up until last year it was 4. It's a little more now. And they paid the price, and we gave the bombs. It was a fair deal. Then Turkey, looking down at Syria and the Kurds, says, hey, the Kurds are too strong. America, get out of there. We're going to smack them. America said, no, we're not going to retreat. They're our friends, and they're fighting ISIS, and we're not going to break our word. No, you got to do it. We're going to come in and invade. So the Americans said, okay, let's make a deal. Let's let the Kurds pull back from the border, give up their own land. Try that in America. We wouldn't do it. Give up their own land, take their heavy weapons out, bulldoze their bunkers and their trenches, which they spent 4 years digging. And then American observers will be in the middle, and the Kurds will be in the back, and that's the deal. And the Turks said, okay. And the Kurds said, oh, are you really going to do that? Are you going to leave us in the lurch? And we told them, this is public. You can look back at any news source, or you can look back at the words of our leadership itself, because you can't always trust news. Yeah, of course we're going to stand with you. We wouldn't make you pull back and leave you. And we did. October the 9th, due to pressure from the Turks and a lack of keeping a promise on our side, I'm an American too, the American troops at midnight, why midnight? Pulled out. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, October the 9th, the Turks invaded. And it was a slaughter. And the people fell back. And women were bringing their dead babies up to the retreating American troops who had fell back 30 kilometers saying, don't our lives count? I had grown men crying to me and said, you couldn't do this to a dog in America. You made us pull back and then you let him in? At least you could have told us you're not going to do this. We would have never pulled back. And this guy was crying and he said, America, we had you on our head. We had you in our eyes. We had you in our heart. We paid the price of blood on the ground. You didn't. But it was okay. You have your job, we have our job. But then you did this to us. It was a great betrayal. And I cried every day I was there. I've never been wounded in my soul as much as that. And I felt afraid for my country. What's God going to do to us? When I read about Israel doing stuff like this, it's not good. So I was like, oh my gosh. And anger grew up in me. And we stood with the Kurds, and we fell back with the Kurds, and a lot of fighting, a lot of dying, and because it wasn't just the Turkish army. They got a bunch of ex-ISIS guys. They called them the Free Syrian Army and the Syrian National Army. We knew they were ISIS because they had the black flag. They took it down and switched for the Free Syrian Army flag, like right now. And here they come with the Turks behind them. The Turks, I don't think, like ISIS, but they're using them. Wow, I'm facing these guys again. It was like a nightmare. And then the Russians saw a chance, they came in. And the Syrian army came in. And the Iranians came up. It was like the worst. Even if you were immoral and didn't care about keeping promises, it was a bad idea. So here it is, chaos. I'm in the middle of it with my team from Burma. As this fighting is going on, we're retreating and treating wounded, and retreating and treating wounded, and evacuating civilians. And Zho Sang is our videographer, because in our teams, we have people who do medical work, we have people who capture what's happening. And we want to tell the story, like you saw that video. That's not professional cameramen, that's our guys running around with the camera everywhere, because we want the victims to know their stories told. And we want the world to know what's happening. That's our little job. Zho Sang, Kachin, from northern Burma, amazing guy, is one of my video men. And he was a super athlete, much better than me, my shape, my size, but stronger and faster and better at everything, and a real wise guy. If I said, we're going to do this, and it was a bad idea, he'd go, good idea, sir. And one of those kind of guys. And he filmed everything, not fearless, but overcame fear all the time to help people. Well, he just shot a film that we rescued people from a bunch of tanks shooting at us, and he was running along filming it. He was editing it. He got done. He gives it to me. I get in the armored vehicle to transfer it to my phone. He steps out to take a break and sits by the rear wheel well. There's shooting going on constantly. And so we're in a position where we're a couple hundred yards from where the very front is, where we can see where the wounded are, and we can go get them. So that means that the mortar shells and artillery are landing around us, and we keep moving our vehicles as they're hitting around us, trying to stay alive and stay close enough to help and not run, because we won't run if people can't run. Bang. This round comes in right behind us. We think it's a Turkish drone. It hits and blows up, and a round goes through Zhao's brain right here. Goes in here, comes out here. Another one through his heart, through his neck, a big core, like that big, out of his neck. Both of those are pretty much instant death. And then one through his back. And I look, two of my guys are back. I was completely untouched, just because I just stepped in the vehicle. I stepped out, two of my guys are wounded, one in the rear end, a guy named Jason we just baptized. And then Muhammad, if you saw the FBR movie, he's the guy that goes, "Oh, this very big, God sent us out." That guy, great guy. 36 shrapnel rounds in his ribs, inside, but he's gonna live. He's okay. He's bloody, but you just know. And I see Zhao, he's on his back, all these wounds. He's dead. Before I can touch him, my eyes are drawn up, and I see his face in heaven. I've seen lots of dead people in our work, right next to me. I've never seen someone in heaven. And he smiled this huge smile, which he always did, and then turned his head and laughed. And I was like, oh my gosh. I had no idea heaven was like that. Wow, God, I saw him in heaven. And the feeling was not a comfort, it was a reality. That heaven's real and he's there. And he's more than happy, he's completely fulfilled and accelerating. And as he looked at us, if I could analyze it thinking back, he did not look at us with pity or sorrow. He looked at us like, it's okay. You're part of God's will on earth as it is in heaven. The world and life is fatal, but it is not final. It's okay. Keep going. I'm up here. And I was like, wow, God, I saw that. You let me see that. Thank you. Now, you said we could ask for anything. Please send him back. So we pick him up, we take him to the hospital, which is now, we've been pushed back 30 kilometers daily in battle, just getting shoved back. The hospital is only 2 miles away. We go in there, people are shot all over the place. The doctors have their hands literally full all day, all night. And we're working closely with them, and they all know Zhao. He comes in with all these holes through him. We put him on the operating table. They start putting electric shocks, airbag. We're doing CPR, adrenaline, everything you do in a modern hospital, they had there. Except, there's bullet holes, everything. So we're working on him, and he's nothing, flatline the whole time. After an hour and a half of working on him, Dr. Hussein reaches over and touches my arm, and he says, "Is it enough?" And I said, "Yeah, you knew he was dead when we brought him in, right?" And Hussein said, "Yeah, we knew he was dead before he got here. But he is like our son. He came from Burma and died for us. We would work on him like he was our son, and he's like your son, and we love you. So we were going to keep working until you said it was enough." We all started to cry. And after that, people were praying for us from Houston. It was interesting. They said, his death will not be in vain. From those dry bones will come a new life. I'm not sure what that meant. The advance will stop there. Okay. I don't know what that means, but I know this. Where Zhao died, you can go back there right now. You can come with me to Syria. We're going to October, November, God willing. Where he died is now the no man's land, but the offensive stopped that day. Now, they shell and shoot every day. You can't walk around there. But the offensive stopped. It's kind of strange. It stopped cold right where he was killed from November the 3rd to this day. And I pray it keeps stopping. Again, they're still shooting, but they're not coming forward. And the Americans are there, not at the front, but the Americans are going to the oil fields about 20 kilometers south. So they're still kind of around. And we're in the middle. So after that, I thought, wow, God. And there was a big funeral service. And all these women are crying for Zhao. And they're crying and crying and over his casket. And I was crying. We're all crying because he's a brother. And I really felt, wow, all these people crying, they cut my sorrow in half. And there's this saying, a sorrow shared is divided, a joy shared is multiplied. And that's true. And I think that's one of the jobs of the church. We cry together. You don't have to fake cry. You mourn together. You'll know when to cry. You'll be able to stop it. But you cry together, and it cut my sorrow in half that these women who are Kurdish, can't speak any English, don't know where even Burma is, are crying for this man and saying, that's my son who died. And we shared that. The battle went on, even though the front is static, they're still shooting, there's still casualties. Every morning, a feeling came up in my heart of anger. And there's a fine line between anger and hate and bitterness. I don't know where that line crosses, but I began to feel I'm becoming more than just angry, becoming bitter. At who? Well, the Turks, who killed my best friend, and the Americans, who allowed it to happen and deceitfully betrayed these people. Oh my gosh, why did we do that? We got nothing. I was just like, even if you got something, it's just sinful. And I had this feeling rise up in me. And I remember thinking, I know this feeling. I felt it before. In the Battle of Mosul, when ISIS killed this little kid next to me, I thought, that's it, justice. I'm going to go get ISIS. What God showed me is justice is revenge unless it's love. So when someone's hurt you, you're really hurt. The only way you're going to get justice, the only way you can keep yourself clean is to say, Lord, give me love for that person. What's the best punishment for that person that helps them change? Now, whether they change or not is up to them. What's the best? That's love. And whether they accept that love or not, and that's really their only hope. You can stop people with a bullet, and you might have to sometimes, but you will not change their heart with a bullet. No way. You can't change my heart. I can't change your heart by force. No way. Only Jesus' love. So when you have someone who's hurting you and you say, Lord, forgive me, I give up revenge. I have the right to revenge, but I give it up because that's yours. But God has told us justice is in our hands. Revenge is in his hands. We have to keep that difference, and the difference is love. And sometimes you can't love. I can't. I want to say about y'all, I can't. I've been hurt bad enough. That little 3-year-old's dead. I cannot love. But I can do this. Jesus, I give up revenge. Jesus, forgive me. Help me. And he supernaturally healed me. That's who we serve. That's who we come to worship every Sunday and every day. The supernatural Jesus who helps us do what we cannot do. There's no way I can love that guy. You're right. You don't have to. You just have to obey Jesus and watch what he does. He's not a philosophy out here somewhere. He's a supernatural being who died on the cross to be with us and save us from our sins and save us every day. And I know it's true because he did it to me. I couldn't believe it. It's like surgery. Well, now I'm in Syria. Same thing. I'm really mad. I'm mad at our president. He's not the only one. There's a bunch of generals who said nothing. There's a whole bunch of advisors. But when you're in charge, like you are here, you're in charge of whatever the final decision is. You own it. That's where my anger went. He's not to blame for the death, but he allowed it to happen. He set in motion, allowed the things to happen. So it's welling up in me. And I keep saying, Jesus, I don't want to feel that. Forgive me. Give me love for him. Forgive me. I kept saying it. Fox News shows up about 10 days after Zal's dead. It's shooting every day, but the offensive has stopped. So that's when the journalists start to come. When it's like, okay, they won't overrun us. And they put the microphone in my mouth. What happened? And I said, well, we betrayed these people. That's what happened. And it's horrible. And I was wearing the same shirt. I had blood all over it. I said, this is the blood of my friends who I picked up. Not my Burmese friend. These are Kurds. And then I said to the camera, we made a big mistake. America is not God, and we're not the devil. And we make mistakes. All humans do. And every mistake, God can bring good from. That's the math of God. But you got to confess it. And then, so I said, America, we should say we're sorry, and then ask God how to fix it, and we can fix it. I have no doubt, because who God is. And then I felt God say, you tell President Trump you love him. Now, I'm not making a political speech today. I'm just talking about losing my best friend. And I don't care who it was. It could have been my dad. I'd be mad. And I was like, I tell President Trump I love him? Is that true? He said, you decide. I'm going to help you. So then I looked at the camera, and I mean it. And if I ever meet him, I'll say it, and it'll be true. President Trump, sir, I love you. I love you. I'm behind you all the way. Let's admit what we've done that's wrong. It's we. What we've done that's wrong, let's fix it. Let's fix it. God gave me that. My bitterness is gone. I still cry for Zal. I still get angry when people try to defend the pullout. Okay, that's just me inside. And I know what I'll do. I'm not going to run, like with God's help. I better put that one in there. Peter thought he wasn't going to run either, and he did. So I'll no confidence in me, but full confidence in Jesus. And he is the one that supernaturally heals us. He's the one that can help us stand. He is the one that can guide us. And he's the one that can unite our country. And the goal really isn't unite the country. The goal is be united with Jesus. Because if we're united with Jesus, we're going to have unity around us. Some people aren't going to choose it. You just pray.